Teflon was revolutionary. It was a brilliant invention that modernized the kitchen at a time that fat was demonized. But everybody knows the Teflon story, the chemical that made so many people sick. They fixed that problem, removed the chemical, and replaced it with a better one. Is it fixed? Howdy, I'm Jed, this is Cook Culture. The chemicals that are used in Teflon and all the like, because a Teflon or another brand is basically the same thing, they are what people know of as a PFAS type of chemical. It is a family of chemicals that are generally the same. And you may also call these forever chemicals. So they are called forever chemicals because they will stay in the environment forever. So if they're in the environment, if they're in the ocean or in the streams or wherever they have ended up, they are there forever. Also, if we ingest them, they are there forever. And it became known that Teflon and the like were toxic and were toxic to humans. This became a court case, and this became an issue in which DuPont, the maker of Teflon, became liable for, and they paid out huge sums of money because they were actually liable for poisoning people, and they knew what they were doing. And so they quickly made a new formula that you will now see in anywhere that you go that is PFOA free. So that means that the chemical which they found out that was actually toxic is no longer in the pan. So problem solved, all good, right? The Gen X chemical, in which they called it, that is a same type of chemical that you will see that's called PTFE, that most all pans now are PTFE when they come with a non-stick chemical. That is not PFOA, but it's a PTFE combination of chemicals. This was very quickly put onto the market and had no long-term testing to it. So the EPA down in the USA has been testing this for the last several years. And what they have found is that this is actually a toxic mix-up. So the new mix, the PTFE, is actually a toxic mix. And this is exactly what the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, says about Gen X chemicals, the new safe chemicals. Animal studies following oral exposure have shown health effects including on the liver, kidneys, the immune system, developmental of offspring, and association with cancer. Based on available information across studies on different sexes, life stages, and durations of exposure, the liver appears to be particularly sensitive from oral exposure to Gen X chemicals. So this is from the EPA down in the USA. So I live in Canada, and in Canada, we mostly follow suit of what's going on down in the States. So Health Canada is looking into it themselves. They don't have any definitive information like the EPA has now produced. And what happens from this point is the EPA now makes suggestions, and different governing bodies now have to decide on how they take this information and they make laws. So what's really fascinating is that down in the US, certain states are now adopting new laws and invoking new laws that are going to ban all use of the family of chemicals that PTFE and PFOA was involved in. And these are PFAS chemicals. So there's about 4,000 different chemicals within this grouping that go like pizza boxes and food wrappers and non-stick cookware and different things that touch your food. I would be very concerned about what's in your cookware because unfortunately DuPont, the main maker, or Chemours now, that is the spin-off company that makes this because DuPont no longer could make it because of the damage to their brand, and they made a separate company that took the liability and paid the amount out because of the previous chemicals. They were found that they had known for decades, and different CEOs and upper management knew the damage that was being done by the chemical that they were using. And they believed, supposedly, that when it was diluted far enough and the effect of actually once it was used in a pan or whatever else they were selling it to in Scotch guarding for a carpet or however the Teflon was going to get into the house, that it was in such a small, minuscule amount that it wasn't going to hurt anybody. But the reality now is that, as I was saying before, is that those chemicals now exist into almost everybody. They have found these chemicals in polar bears in the North Pole. And this is a concentration of chemical. So the one-off, maybe that one pan used at one time, but a lifetime of using pans that are nonstick, nobody knows the true effect of that. They do know that a high concentration causes all the things I just said. So there is the effect, but how much for each individual, there is no understanding of that. So it continues to be sold because it is in this kind of funny gray sort of area of it's not actually that hurtful using that one pan for the duration of the lifetime of that pan. But if you take the combination of using an entire life of nonstick cookware, could that hurt you? It possibly could. Maybe your neighbor it doesn't, you it does. Nobody really knows. But my question all the time is, why do we take that chance? Why use something that is a known toxic product, that it goes into nonstick pans and all of them? And why not just use carbon steel or stainless steel or cast iron? Because it works just as well. I've already proven that on this channel several times. And so why not, right? So it is a really muddy place, and the big, massive companies have done a lot to help muddy that space and to make it confusing for people of like, oh, well, they fixed it, it's better now. Look at all these chemicals that they say that are not in the pan. But what did they replace them with? That is now becoming clear that what they replaced them with are only incrementally better than what they took out. And that's really disappointing. It's disheartening that an industry would continue to do that and then sold to brands and then sold on to retailers, that we as retailers, we continue selling these to you knowingly. Like, this information is widely available. This is not hard to find. I didn't have to go pay anybody off or dig down deep or find some secrets code to find this. It's widely available information if you want to find it. These pans can be damaging. And retailers continue to sell them, and wholesalers continue to sell them, and manufacturers continue to make them because you keep buying them. And maybe not you who are watching this, but your neighbors, your friends, your family. They're buying the simple solution. They're buying the lowest common denominator, and it could end up being threatening. Nobody knows for sure. Everybody's a little different, as I said. People's immune systems work differently. There's no absolutely surefire way to know unless you're drinking large concentrations of it, and then you'll know for sure. But this is a larger issue. So that's my message. I bash nonstick all the time, and I've never really made a video to be completely clear on why. And my main concern is that when it comes to nonstick and the levels of how it's manufactured and sold right to retail, us retailers, we don't do you a good service. We lie to you unknowingly because we are ignorant and we are lazy and we don't put the time into understanding. You come to us and want the easiest solution, so we sell you the easiest solution. But if we do really care about you, we will work harder. We will, as a group of retailers selling cookware, we will do our very best. And I'm seeing this happening. Some of the major brands, some big ones, are actually stopping making their nonstick cookware because of the changes that are coming on a state-by-state level. And you will start seeing from some major brands some carbon steel and maybe some cast iron, but carbon steel is going to become more commonplace. And this is another challenge for us here that follow this channel. We will have friends and family that see this now in Target and different places, that carbon steel is becoming more popular, which is awesome, but we need to help people learn how to use it. So put yourself out there, help people understand how to season and how to cook properly with carbon steel, and little bit by little bit by little bit, we will rid the world of Teflon. So thanks so much. Any questions, comments, throw them below. Thanks.